Hello Luna Longhorns. Today we are going to be going through homework 1.4b, test review. Your test is on Thursday, so it's time for us to get prepared. Let's start with question number 1. Sarah surveyed her class's favorite ice cream flavors. The results are listed in the table. What is the fraction of students that like Rocky Road ice cream written as a decimal? First thing that I want to do is I want to look at what the question is asking for me to do. What is the fraction? So it wants me to write a fraction. And then it also wants me to write Rocky Road ice cream written as a decimal. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my table to the right, and it gives me the flavors of ice cream, and then it also gives me the number of students per flavor. Well, if I remember back, fractions tell us that we need a part to whole ratio, so I need to find my whole. So I'm going to add all of these numbers up. 4 plus 3 is 7, 7 plus 8 is 15, 15 plus 6 is 21, 21 plus 9 is 30. So I have a total of 30 number of students. So therefore now I'm going to do Rocky Road ice cream as my part. So Rocky Road ice cream says that there are 6 out of the total 30 students. From this point, I want to write it as a decimal. Now I look at 30 and I notice that 30 is a factor or a multiple of 10. So therefore, I'm going to simplify by 3, top and bottom, and I'm going to get a new equivalent fraction of 2 out of 10. So 2/10, I can now write that as a decimal as 2 in the 10ths place. 0 and 2 in the 10ths place. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and move on to question number 3. We will skip 2 because you should be able to do that one. Number 3, the difference in the runners' goals and their actual time is shown. Order the numbers from least to greatest. Okay, so I need to look at my table and see where I'm at. The first thing that I always tell you is that you should separate the negative numbers from the positive numbers. So let's go ahead and pull Sean at -3 2/10. And let's pull Mara at -2 1/5. Okay, so we need to put them in order from least to greatest. So I need to change 1/5 to a decimal. First way that I'm going to change 1/5 to a decimal is by dividing using cowboy and horse. Cowboy goes inside, horse stays out. Add a decimal. So he's kicking off his boots, he's hanging up his hat, and he's going to buy a donut. So I usually say buy 3 donuts, but in this case you're going to notice something different. 5 goes into 1. Nope, it doesn't. So we have 0 5s. 5 times 0 is 0. Subtract remainder of 1. Bring down the next 0. 5, you can make 2 5s out of 10. So 5 times 2 is 10. Subtract, and you get a remainder of 0. So the answer is 2/10. So we have -3 2/10, and we have -2 2/10. Well, you should already know by looking at that -3 is more than -2. And if you remember that the larger the negative number, the smaller its value is. So we're going to go ahead and write -3 2/10 first. And then we're going to write -2 1/5 next. And then we're going to go ahead and move on to Lacey and Amos. Lacey is 1 4/10, which means it can be converted to a decimal as 1 4 in the 10ths place. Amos is 1 43/100. Now if I compare their place values, I notice that they both have 1 in the 1s place. They both have 4 in the 10ths place, and then I have a 3, but there's nothing here. Remember that we can always put in a phantom 0. So if I'm comparing it 0 to 3, 3 is larger. So I get 1 4/10 comes in front, or is less than 1 43/100. That's question number 3. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on down here to question number, is that about right? All right, to question number 6. The population change from one year to the next of a town is 435. What is the absolute value of this population change? Remember, the definition of the absolute value is the distance a number is from 0 on the number line. So, negative 435 on the number line, starting at 0, would be 435 units to the left. So the absolute value of negative 435 is 435. All right, let's move on to question number 7. Miss Malone's classroom or homeroom raised $539 for a local charity. Identify the opposite of this integer. Okay, well, if the positive is 539, the opposite of that positive would be the negative of negative 539. And that's your answer. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next page. Question number 8. It says, which of the following numbers would be a rational number but not an integer? Well, let's take a look at our graphic organizer here. We've got whole numbers, integers, and rational numbers. Looking at these whole numbers, integers, and rational numbers, 3/4, it's not a whole number, it's not an integer, but it is a rational number. Okay, negative 15, an integer. 3 is a whole number. 2 is a whole number. So let's go ahead and read the question again. It says, which of the following numbers would be a rational number, okay, but not an integer? Well, considering everything inside of that circle is an integer, the only thing left out is 3/4, A. Question number 9, which of the following numbers would be an integer but not a whole number? Okay, so let's take a look at our numbers. 20. 20 is a whole number, so that doesn't work. Okay, 4 2/10. Well, that's a decimal. It's not an integer. So we've got 4 2/10 here in the rational numbers. We're looking for an integer but not a whole number. Negative 7. Negative 7 is an integer, and it's not a whole number because it is negative. So I think I found my answer, but let's look at 1/3. 1/3 is not a whole number, not an integer, but it is a rational number. So the only one that satisfies our situation is C. Let's go on to number 10. It says, what ordered pair represents point B? All right, well, I need to find point B. It's right here. It's in quadrant not 1, not 2, but quadrant 3. Now, if I remember correctly, this is the negative quadrant where the x and the y are both negative. So if I look at my answer choices, the only one that's possible is answer choice D. Let's check. Negative 2, negative 1, negative 2, negative 1, negative 2. B. Yes, answer choice D is the correct answer. Let's go on to number 11. What point represents the ordered pair 3, negative 1? Okay, 3 is my x value, negative 1 is my y value. Okay, so I need to start at 0, and I need to go 3 on the x-axis. My x-axis is the horizontal axis. Counting 1, 2, 3, and then I need to go negative 1 on the y, which means I'm going down since it's negative. The letter is E. Answer choice B is the only possible answer. Finally, label the quadrants on the coordinate grid below. Well, we already did this on our homework. We do this every week. 1, 2, 3, and IV for 4. Make sure that you write them in Roman numerals, and thank you very much.